So last week we started off slowly. This week we're going to pick up the pace a little bit. But before we get into that, I want to assure you of something. Today's lesson is big. But I want you to get this concept. It's the concept about verbs and pronouns. Okay, everybody say verbs, and pronouns. You know what a verb is? Action or state of being. But today we're really going to look at action verbs and pronouns. Do you know what a pronoun is?
Yes.
I, she, we, you, they, them. Yes, okay. Okay, so it's so important once you know what you're going to begin to learn today, and I'm saying begin. We'll probably use this lesson at least twice because I don't think we'll get through everything today, and I'm not even going to try to. What my goal is to have you understand before we go to the next step. Okay? But that won't happen 100% of the time, and if you don't 100% understand, don't think anything of it. I was in a fog the first 5 years I started studying this language. Nobody ever told me what I'm going to tell you today. And believe me, it took me 5 years to figure it out. But when I did, it was like, bingo! The light went on. And I knew this was the key. Okay. All right, so you'll remember last week we learned that Hebrew is an active language, right? Because it is active, we see the syntax. Does everybody know what syntax is?
It's like alcohol, tobacco.
It's like the
That's way funnier than what I'm telling you. Okay, the syntax is the word order. The order that the words come in the sentence. Okay? And in Hebrew, the syntax is in a completely different order than our word order. Okay? So that can really throw you. But don't let it. After a while, you're going to love it. And as we kind of build on the ideas that I'm teaching you at the very beginning of the class, they're going to make more and more sense to you why Hebrew's in the syntax, the order that it's in. Okay? So in English, the subject usually comes first, right? So we say, Billy runs with his dog, right? Billy is the subject. But in Hebrew, they'd say, runs Billy with his dog. Because the action is what's important. And today you're going to see how they're going to put Billy and the action in one word. Okay? Suffix to the action word is going to be the pronoun joining together what I'm about to show you. Okay? So let's add another dimension to our understanding of this language. And the dimension we're going to talk about just for a few minutes this morning is relationship. Okay. So all of this is on your notes. Okay. We remembered last week that God created man is in his image, Selim. And we learned that God brought order to the chaos. And part of the way we live out being made in God's order is to bring order to our world. Okay, so a word describing the act of bringing order is tikkun. Oh, I'm sorry, this part is not on your notes. I hear the paper grading. No, this isn't on your notes. Okay, tikkun, and we learned last week that word tikkun is tied in with the word ashrei. Remember this word? Ashrei, which is translated in English as blessed or happy. But there are a lot of aspects to being blessed or happy. And one aspect is our ability to bring order to the world. You thought of it that way before? You're blessed when you're bringing order. You're happy when you're bringing order. And did you gain any insights in that definition, that long definition that Abraham at the back last week. We read it in class. I don't know if you had a chance to reread it or think about it. But if you haven't, reread it because there's so much in there. The definition of ashrei, when you see it from the Hebrew perspective, is just pregnant with meaning. And we can bring order into good circumstances. We can bring order into bad circumstances. There's all kinds of ways to bring that order into the world. So I really encourage you to read that again and meditate on it. Okay, another part of God's image is that He communicates. Okay, that's a big thing. And He communicates with men. God is a communicator. It's part of His image. God walked and talked with Adam and Eve in the garden. God moved the tabernacle where His presence would be right into the heart where His people lived in the wilderness. Why? Why did He do that? He wanted to be right in the midst of where they were. He's a communicator. He had things to communicate to them. And He didn't want to do it from a distance. So He moved into the heart. Okay. If we look at the 10 words or the 10 commandments, what are the first 4 about? Our relationship with God, right? And what are the last 6 about? Man's relationship with man. So do you see how God is building? It's all about relationship. All about relationship. Okay, so the Bible from cover to cover is about God speaking to man and man responding either in obedience or disobedience, and how man and women treat each other. That's what it's about. And we see the consequences when we go outside of the parameters God has told us within which we can be blessed. Then we bring disorder instead of order, okay? So prayer is a way of communing or communicating with God. The Hebrew word for prayer is, I hope you can see this. Tefillah. Everybody say it. Tefillah. Okay, what's that word of? Yeah, tefillah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how Hebrew words morph. That's what I call it. Morphing. Okay, so tefillah. We know that God formed man out of the dirt, right? Mm-hmm. I saw an article that really caught my attention. It was entitled Praying Dirt by Skip Moen. And the title so captured me that I read on, and I learned that Rabbi Sherman said that in the Talmud, it defines man as, listen to this, the creature that prays. Okay, connect praying with communicating. Please make that connection, okay? Because that's what we're doing. We're communicating with God. We're communing with Him. We're building relationship, okay? The prayer is a way of being engaged in relationship. And when we pray without ceasing, we are in constant contact with the one who breathed life and purpose into us. The ability to pray separates us from all of God's other creations. It gives us opportunity to commune with Him. What does this look like? What does the life of prayer look like? It looks like Jesus. It's exactly what He did. Jesus was devoted to obeying and doing the will of His Father, and He spent time in prayer. You know, it doesn't say it in so many words, but you know He was constantly praying to know His Father's will and do it. Okay? The Hebrew word for prayer then, tefillah, everybody say it? Tefillah. When you put the definition of the picture language to the letters of the word, we get, behold, the shepherd whose hand is on the cross and use your mouth to pray. To pray. That's the whole word. Use your mouth to pray. You ever wonder what to do, what your purpose is? What's your purpose?
Right.
That's one reason. Tefillah. Oh, behold the shepherd whose hand is on the cross, and use your mouth to pray. That's the whole word. Or be in communication with him. So this is a language about action and relationship, and prayer is action, and it is about relationship. So today we're going to begin to see how closely related the action and the person are as we begin our study of pronouns and verbs. So, are you ready? We are ready. Okay. Now you can go to your lesson. Now we're there. Now we're there.
That was just intro. Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's all good.
All right. So I know that there are really two levels in here, and I'm trying to kind of work toward the end of bringing you both together. Montessori Hebrew. All right. So let's do some vowel point review. I'm going to point to the vowel point. You say the sound. Okay. There are only letters inserted when the dot had to be above or below. So it says ah, o, ah. Okay, it's like rock, paper, scissors. The line gets the prize. Okay, so when there's lines and dots, you're going to say ah. Okay, rock, paper, scissors, line wins. Okay? You know that because it's got the line and the schwa mark.
Yeah, it is a schwa.
Mhm.
I wasn't, okay.
It's a schwa, but a schwa, it's a long
All right,
explanation.
yeah.
Just say ah.
Just do it.
Just say ah for now. This is
I have a question.
all right. Anybody struggling with those in any way?
Not struggling.
Okay.
Class we learned the three dots of A, E, H, like F.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay. I'm looking at it and I keep having to rewind.
Yeah,
my brain.
just erase, because if you really go to Israel and listen to them speak, you are not going to hear the difference between and a at all.
Okay. All right.
It's like saying, what's the difference between egg and they? You can argue about it, but really, it's not worth it. You know, and so, yeah, it's not worth it. And it doesn't affect the meaning in any way.
So
Okay?
we're learning practical. Right?
We're learning practical. Yeah, I'm very practical.
But I mean, that helps the mind rather
Yes.
than the technical principle. We're learning the practical application.
Yes, we're learning the practical. If there is something technical that matters, we'll learn that. I promise we will, but I'm not going to quibble over egg and they. Okay? All right, so let's, on page 1, let's read the vowel points with the letters now, starting at the right-hand side, okay? Ready, go.
Ba, ge, re, fa,
She, sa,
sa,
Ah,
zo, sa, ye.
okay. You're not 100% sure yet, but keep practicing. I can hear some hesitation. That just means just keep practicing. But you're doing good. All right, now I'm going to dictate to you, and on those blank lines, I want you to write the letter that you hear the sound of with any vowel point that makes the vowel sound, okay? If it's an A, I don't care if you use this one or this one, okay? Or if it's an oo, you can use either oo, okay? All right, so I want you to write go. Go. All right, so did you write this?
Yes.
Okay, or you could have written
Put it on.
this. Either one. Right, because I'm not telling you anything but that. All right, so the next one is write she. She. This is for your own use to see how you're doing. Okay, so it could look like this. Okay. All right, the next one, write day. Day. Okay? Like this. It could have 2 or 3 dots underneath. Okay? Ya. Ya. Like either any line formation. Last one, ray. Ray. It can have any of the dot formations. Okay? How'd you do? Good. Yay? Good. All right, so here's a quiz. No, it doesn't count for anything. There are no grades here, but write Elohim on the first line above God. Elohim.
Hebrew, of course.
Yes. Does it look like this? Were those the letters that you used? Are those the letters that you used? I'm not points.
I missed one.
All right.
That's silent guy.
Oh, it is silent. Which
I put a yod. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, in this case, this is
Not
a
so.
yeah. This is a historic long. This combination. I'm just going to tell you this. That's called a historic long vowel. That's the correct way of writing that, but it gets shortened sometimes. It doesn't matter for our purposes. That's level 3. Okay, next word, write word or thing, davar. Davar. Okay, it should look like this. And it has these two.
Oh, thank you. I just crossed it off because I thought you were coming in.
And write king. Melech. Look like that? Melech, king. Okay. All right. So, how many remember Psalm 119, verse 1? Yeah? Did you get it? Did you memorize it? Peter, I see him back there. Yay. Together. Ashrei, Shemei, Darek, Elohim, Bezorat, Adonai. And it means, blessed are the undefiled in the way who walk in the Torah of the Lord. A little bit different. I'm just going to give you the English as it is right from the Hebrew, okay, in their word order, because it'll percolate in there, and it just has wonderful connotations as you begin to really meditate on it. Okay, one more time. Okay, what's Ray? Shemei, Darek, Elohim, Bezorat, Adonai. Okay, by yourselves. Go.
Ashrei, Shemei, Darek, Elohim, Bezorat, Adonai.
Good. How many of you know it by heart? Good. Good. Keep working. I'm not going to give you a new one this week, but keep working on that. You'll be glad you did. All right. Now we begin. Yes.
Which one use Adonai versus Hashem?
Oh, that's a whole.
Never mind.
All right.
Scratch that question.
Okay.
But you could use both for the name.
Wherever they use yod, hey, bob, hey, I say yod. I know most people around here say yod. But my first Hebrew teacher taught me yod, so that just sticks. Generally, you'll say Adonai in Israel, okay, or in a Jewish Bible. Peter, correct me if you know better, but that's my understanding. Okay.
Hashem.
Is
You
what?
can use both, because Hashem means the name, and Adonai is what they use to
Yeah.
choose both.
Exactly. So I'm just going to say Adonai, okay? I hope that doesn't step on anybody's toes. All right, we're at the bottom of the page. Write the gutturals on the lines provided. Those you really need to know. Okay, and they are, everybody say them together. Aleph,
Hey. Het. Ein.
Ayin, and sometimes Resh. Everybody together. Aleph, Hey, Het, Ayin, and Resh. Again. Aleph, Hey, Het, Ayin, and Resh. And what are those called? Gutturals. Okay. It'll really make a difference that you know this down the road. All right, we are starting in Hebrew. There are about 72,000 verbs when you add up all the forms a verb can take in Hebrew. All right, that sounds like a lot, doesn't it? And over 70% of those 72,000 are what we call verbs. And call in Hebrew means easy. Okay, so we're going to start with the easy ones today. Yeah, all 72,000.
Easy for her.
Not quite. Easy for who? They haven't defined that. Okay, so we can conclude that the verbs we're going to say today are easy verbs. Okay, every verb in Hebrew has a root. Okay, you probably all know this. The root is made up of 3 letters, almost always. Okay, so here's a root word. Everybody knows what that means? To guard, or he guarded. So how many stems are there? How many letters? 3. And that's going to be the pattern. Okay. In Hebrew, verbs must agree with the nouns in 4 ways. Gender, person, number, and tense. This is all on your notes. Gender, of course, is male or female. Number is simply whether it is singular or plural, and in Hebrew they have something called dual, but we're not going to worry about that today. You will learn it though. Person shows the relationship between the noun and the verb, and it shows who is speaking or being spoken to. So underneath that, I put for you singular and plural pronouns in English and what person they are, because you know, sometimes when you're an English speaker, you just don't learn these things. Sometimes we weren't taught these things. So it helps to know, though, as you go along. So if I am talking, I am the first person, right? I. But if I'm talking about you, you're the second person. And if we're talking about him, her over there, they're third. He or she, they're third. Okay, that's in the singular, okay? In the plural, it's we, all of us. We is the first. Second is you, as in you all. Do you know how to make y'all plural?
Y'all.
All y'all.
All y'all.
Yeah, I love that. Mark Moses taught me that.
Just in the south, up here, they just say.
It's true, they do say that.
They do, it's funny.
All of y'all?
All y'all. All right, and third person would be they, okay? So it gets further and further away from you. You're always first, or we are first. and then you, and then they. So it gets further as you go. Okay, to make a Hebrew verb agree in gender and number and person, we add a suffix. Now, in English, it's nothing like we do in English. We don't do this in English, so don't try to compare it, because if you do, it'll mess you up. This is Hebrew thinking, and you're going to see how relational it is. Okay, so,
Is the suffix a mem?
oh, there are lots of suffixes. That's what we're going to look at next. Okay, so, just so for now, just know that you add a suffix to the root. Okay, everybody knows that a suffix is something that goes at the back of the word, right? So we're going to see how it works. But I want to finish talking about verbs. In Hebrew, the tense is totally different than the tense in English. In Hebrew, it's either complete or incomplete. That's how they think of it. There's no two ways about it. It's complete or it's incomplete. I like that myself. Okay, but it also is hard for us to understand sometimes. Call verbs, the easy ones, show completed action. And it means completed whether it's in the past, present, or future. Figure that one out. We will. Okay. English is, in the English equivalent, it would be he studied, he has studied, he had studied, he will have studied. Okay? But the easiest way to think of this call verb tense is that it's past. Okay? It's completed. Or another way they say it, if it's completed, perfect. So a lot of times you'll see call perfect tense if you're looking on the computer, you have books or something that have Hebrew things in them. It's the complete verb call or it's the perfect call. And it's the past tense. That's just how we're going to relate to it in this class. All right, page 3.
So complete perfect really means it's past.
It's past tense. Just think of it that way. Completed action in Hebrew is also called perfect because it is finished. It's complete. Like you feel really good when you get something finished. If you're writing a book, how do you feel?
Good.
Good. Okay. Yeah.
So
It is finished.
he finished the book.
Incomplete action is thought of as something future, but that is not called. It has not been finished, so it is not complete. And that's the better, that's not this. That's not this. Again, to make a Hebrew verb agree in number and gender, we need to add a suffix to the 3-letter root. So what kind of verbs are we studying? Call. How many letters will a call verb have? 3. What are the 3 letters in the verb called as a whole? The root. Good. What is each individual letter called? Did I tell you that?
Stem.
The stem. Everybody get that? Each individual letter is called a stem. And how do we know the gender, number, and person of the verb?
Singular, plural.
It'll be a suffix. A suffix. Okay? Now, let's look at independent pronouns before we go to pronouns that are suffix. See this? Okay. So, let's first, what I want you to do is look at these independent pronouns and see patterns, okay? I want you to become best friends. That's a nice way of saying memorize. These, okay? So I want you to look just at the singular. Look at, okay, let's read them first. Ani, anoki, ata, at, who, he. All right, I love to say this, but in Hebrew, who is he is she, and me is who. I'll say that again. In Hebrew, who is he, she is he, and me is who. It's kind of fun, but it's true.
Yeah.
All right, so ani, anoki. Anoki is rarely used. rare. But once in a while you might see it, so I just want you to know it does exist. So what do you notice about a singular pronoun that's independent, that's going to say I? What do you notice? The yud. The yud. Where is it?
Yeah.
It's at the end. And a yud means hold up your fist like this. If you have something inside that fist, what is it?
Mine.
Exactly. And so whatever's mine reminds you of I, okay? When you see that I at the end of the word, even ashrei, though this is a historic long verb, it also has this. And how am I blessed?
By walking in the way of the Lord.
Exactly. Exactly. How do I get the blessing? That's what it means. It tells you. Yeah, that's how I get it. So whenever you see that yud at the end, that's it. It's something about me, my, I. Okay, so I. Now look at the two yous, ata and at. What do you notice?
They're in the middle.
Okay, so the male form of the U in Hebrew ends with what sound?
Hey.
Ah. Okay? But the female sound of the U ends with what? The ta. Okay? This is a big thing. So, and now I'm going to have you look across at this kind of square right here. Because these are plural. What do you see that happens over here? Same two first letters, different last letter. Okay? So this means it's plural. It's y'all, all y'all. Okay? That's that one. It's that one. And the same here. A noon is just added. But it's the same first two letters. So when you see this kind of a formation with the aleph tav, aleph tav, aleph tav, aleph tav, it's a pattern, okay? Look for those patterns, okay? So ani, anoki is what? I. Ata, at. You. Ata is male or female? At. Female. Okay, now who and he? Who is he? He is she. There's no way of getting around it. Who? Okay, so what do you notice about these? How are they similar and different?
One has a Bob.
One has a Bob, and Bob can stand for man. Okay, so that's how you know it's male, he. It's he. All right? There's the man in it. There he is. Do you see that? In the picture language. So he is what?
She.
Okay, so let's go down. Let's do them in Hebrew, and when you, after you do the Hebrew, say what it is. Ani, anoki, ata, at, he, he, she. All right. Now look what happens when they go to the plural. Look straight across. There aren't many similarities other than the hey. Okay? You have to memorize this. There's just no way of getting around it. Him and hin are usually the two pronouns that are used for the plural. These hema and hena are sometimes used, but very rarely. But I just want you to know they exist. Okay? So memorize him and hin.
Him and him.
And how can you remember that? Mem is the first word of the word men, man or men. Okay, so if it has an M and a Bob, it's related to the male somehow. Okay, and by golly, we are out of time. So here's what I want you to do. Really, really study those and have them in your brain for next time, because we're going to fly next time. Please bring these back next week. Okay, let's do the ashrei, b'nei, yared, ha'olim, b'torah, Adonai. Blessed are the undefiled in the way who walk in the Torah of the Lord.